What time is it?
It's Tuesday night, 10 p.m., and this is the C3 Podcast.
I guess you've heard of my reputation. I've had my share of fooling around. But everybody needs stimulation.
I had fun, man. Just out, you guys joking. We working at the same time, putting the work in as a team. Like I said, man, I'm just glad to be with the guys,
My favorite night of the week?
Good Lord, it's a good day to be a Panthers fan. And we the best. You heard them say it. We are the best, Joe. And we put it on them mugs right in their mouth.
Yo, what's the deal, Panther fans? It's your boy, the Professor, a.k.a. Tony Dunn. This is the C3 Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where we chop it up every Tuesday night from the fan perspective. And I'm here to talk about my Carolina Panthers. Joe, it's not the best of circumstances that we meet this Tuesday. We suffered an L in Denver. I didn't see it coming.
No, definitely didn't see it coming. Really thought we would play much better. Really disappointed. Bit of a reality check, but nevertheless, the season does go on. We're on to week 2. We're going to go over some things with the Denver game, and we've got a great guest on tonight. I am the freaking Puerto Rican, a.k.a. Well, that's my real life name is Joe Rilano. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Rilano, and despite the loss, I'm happy to be here, Tony.
All right, we've got a special guest tonight, Peter Panacy from Niner Noise and Bleacher Report. Pete, is this the third or fourth year on the show? Third year on the show?
I think this is third, yeah. Yeah, no, it's been, and every time it's been awesome, so love coming on with you guys.
Well, we've been kicking butt as a team and as a show since we last saw you, even though that didn't happen this past week. I remind everyone, this week's episode, guys, is Dizzy and Lightheaded. Carolina heads home with, I think I said something like gold in their eyes or something, gold rush or go, something to that effect. We are dizzy and lightheaded. A lot of shots to the head we took as a fan base this past week. So we'll talk about tonight. We're going to be talking about the loss in Denver, Cam Newton, and the failure of the NFL, the failure of the refs to acknowledge that he is a human being, and a quarterback, and he is old enough to get those calls. We'll also be talking about the Panthers defense, what happened and why they lost the game, and all of that jazz. But most importantly, we're going to be looking forward in the second half of the show, and that's why we got Pete here to break down the 49ers, who were very impressive in their Monday night debut. Pete, I will say this, is that those damn Rams, man, Ty Gurley is my fantasy football team, and I need a huge night from him. It wasn't happening.
No, it wasn't. He had a rough night, but, the Rams offensive line still needs a lot of work, and I think the 49ers understood really well that Gurley's their one weapon on offense, so shut him down.
Guys, he's the only player on their team. He's the only player on their team. I say this, Jeff Fisher, Joe's got to go. Like today. He should have gone last year. He should have been gone. I mean, it's terrible. The fraternity. All right. But we're going to get into the show, and I did want to say, so Thursday night, the Panthers go to Denver. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say, you can tweet the show using the hashtag C3. I'm trying to feature the tweets tonight in the window. Hopefully you guys can see them. You can also catch up with us on YouTube. We'd love for you to join in the conversation. Also, if you can't listen right now, tell your friends and download us on iTunes. We could use the support. Give us a share. Joey, we go to Denver. I thought the Panthers outplayed Denver for the most part. Well, at least Cam Newton did, it seemed. And
at least for the first half.
Yeah, he can only do so much, but
Right.
here is what happened, and here's what it sounded like as the Panthers march down the field and they go and they have an opportunity to win the game. It went something like this.
From 50. The bottle is now. Don't get another chance. And the kick is just enough mistiming.
So Gano misses a 50-yard field goal, and the Panthers fall by 1 point. It looked like they were in control of the game for the very first half. Joey, they were still in control, and they had it the whole time, really. If you go and look at the game, the third quarter, about mid-third quarter to mid-fourth quarter, was a tough period for the Panthers.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But Cam Newton played near flawless. He had 3 bad passes, one that resulted in an unfortunate pick. It wasn't a bad pass. It was just a fluke. And it bounced off of Kelvin Benjamin up into the air. Just kind of one of those random plays. Yeah. Cam Newton played fantastic, in my opinion. I thought we converted great on third down. A lot of times we gave up 3 big run plays. 3 chunk run plays, and that did us in. And Cam Newton was under duress. Joey, looking back at Thursday night's game, seems like a long time ago already to me.
It does.
What? And this is different for us. Usually, we're recapping the game from a Sunday on the Tuesday night show. So now that you've had 5 days to stew, brew, how do you feel about this loss?
I feel that, I don't know that there's ever really a good loss, but this is a loss I think that will help us motivate us. Will help motivate us to, hone in, kind of get our focus and our drive a little more dialed in. And we know we still have some things that we need to work on and take care of. I don't think it was a bad game for us. I mean, considering we didn't play our best football, because really we didn't, we still had a chance to win it at the end. So I think that speaks volumes about, how good of a team we can be. And, we just have to get to that point again.
You lose by a field goal. It's wide left. You get iced. It's not like you got blown out.
Right.
It's not. In fact, I felt like the Panthers I won't say controlled the game, but I felt pretty good. Like anytime I was feeling bad, they made a big play.
Right.
Greg Olsen down the sideline for a big first down or something to that effect. I felt like Cam Newton seriously showed that he is continually to improve, and he's only going to get deadlier and deadlier. He was under such duress. If you go, I want to encourage everybody to go back on my Twitter feed. Now it's going to be a long ways away, but I came home from the bar and got on Periscope after this game. And if you look at the sad Tony, I'm like my son when I told him he had to leave his friends at the park today and come home, like it was time to go home. I was mopey and sad, and the thing that I said the most is, how the hell can they get to Cam so quickly? They are after him and after him and after him, and then on top of that, it seemed like there was a real intent to get into his head, literally. How'd you react to that, to the headshots, Joe?
Well, I was disappointed in the referees. Some of that is just going to happen when Cam runs the ball. He tucks it and he runs, and he's going to put his shoulder down sometimes. So there is going to be some helmet to helmet sometimes. But when he's in the pocket and he's still a passer, and you see that helmet to helmet stuff, it really upset me that they didn't call it, because I felt that they were not treating him the same. If it would have been Drew Brees or Andrew Luck or Aaron Rodgers back there, it would have been a flag day. That's what it would have been like. It would have been Flag Day at the game. And that was really frustrating. And I know Cam had to be frustrated. If I'm sitting here frustrated just watching it, he's the one taking the shots. You know it's pissing him off. So, yeah, it was very, you just felt like you were playing against the Broncos and then you were also playing against the referees is what it felt like.
Okay, so Pete, I'm going to go to you from the outside looking in. I know you caught the first night of football. How does it seem like? How was it? What did you think going into this match from what you've just seen of the Panthers from afar, the Super Bowl, and all the turnover? Did the game turn out differently than you expected?
Well, I would have gone with the common perception that the questions Denver had on offense. I mean, granted, I guess they figured it out last year how to win without an offense, but I had Carolina taking that game, not a problem, and just how dynamic the Panthers are able to do things on both sides of the ball, how innovative their offense is, and I thought that Denver lost some key pieces, especially Malik Jackson, Danny Trevathan, those guys departing during the offseason, but the shots to the head on Cam Newton, it was almost shocking and disgusting to a point. And even this, I mean, as a 49er fan, it's kind of like, okay, I get it, what it's like to have a mobile quarterback who gets hit. But I remember a few years ago, Drew Brees getting tackled by Ahmad Brooks in what turned out to be a critical game that actually hurt the 49ers because they had to go on the road in the playoffs instead of being at home. Had that, I mean, they would have won that game, but
wasn't his hand just like up on his chest up here?
Yeah, around here, it was around the neck, and I'm sure Saints fans would probably say, "Oh no, that was a dirty tackle." But it was one of those things where if you look at some of the other quarterbacks around the league who might not be as mobile or might, I don't know, have a different reputation, I don't know, that call goes or those calls go so differently as opposed to a helmet-to-helmet hit. So I mean, It was a joke. It's definitely a black eye for the NFL.
Yeah, the comments on Twitter right here, Missy right away says if the refs would have thrown a flag, they wouldn't have done it so much.
May I say one more thing here?
Yeah, please.
I was watching NFL Network today, and they had on the senior vice president of officiating, Dean Blandino, I think his name is. And they were asking him what he thought about, and his opinion was that there was only one shot to the head that was missed. That was a foul that they missed. One.
All right, let me ask you this. This is something that has bothered me, Joey, is that what in the world, have I missed something in that any shot to the head that's not initiated by the offensive player is okay? Like, I didn't know that. Like, I mean, I thought if you were running back and maybe you tucked your head down and two guys were going to crash into each other, that's incidental contact to me. But I didn't know you could even, like, run up to AJ Green and just tackle him with your face.
Right.
Like, I mean, where is this idea that, I mean, what am I missing on that, Joey? Do you know?
No, I don't think anything's changed. It's all about the person who is the one getting hit. It depends on who it is. If it's a certain quarterback, he's going to get the call. If it's a different quarterback, not going to get that call. Cam Newton is not going to get that call. We've seen it his whole time in the league.
Yeah, he didn't have one roughing the passer call last year, I read. Business Insider wrote a story on it. What the hell is that? Who reads football through Business Insider?
It's disgusting to even think that that's the case.
All right, okay, so was Denver being dirty here? Were they headhunting Cam Newton? And it seems to me that there is a degree of that. Now, I'm not saying like dirty as it. They were trying to rattle him. What's his name? Marshall launched himself at Cam Newton.
Right, left his feet. Yeah.
If you would have done that in college, what would have happened?
Kicked you out of the game.
Yeah, they would have ejected you from the game.
Right.
Right. So I don't understand. All right. So worst case scenario, these guys are dirty and they were trying to hurt Cam, or at least trying to just ring his bell. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And best case scenario is that it was poor tackling because he's so giant that they don't really know how to tackle him. You know, and you just do whatever you can. That's the worst case scenario. But here's the point. There's no flags being thrown, like you said. And like Pete said, is that for other guys, these flags get thrown when you look at the quarterback the wrong way.
Right, quickly. Those flags come out.
He gets chased out of bounds. He gets hit late after throws. And I think that sometimes they throw the flags too liberally with other people, clearly.
Right.
But if they have that problem in other cases, it's the complete opposite with Cam. Can he withstand this?
No, he can't. I mean, he cannot continue to get hit like he was in that game and have an extended career. His career will be significantly shortened with hits like he was taking Thursday.
How is this on YouTube? Shaked said, Tony, you must be drunk again. The Marshall hit was not a bad tackle. I hope that's sarcasm. Like, because when you jump up and then crown somebody to the face, I don't think that's a legal tackle. Did I miss that, Joey?
No, I don't think so. I think, like we talked about, if you leave your feet, you
can't crown anybody in the head or neck region.
Right.
You're not supposed to lead with the crown of your helmet, period, right?
Right. You're not supposed to tackle using the crown of your helmet. That's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just thought it was crazy. All right. So, Pete, you're a little closer to Denver than we are. I know we've played them a lot, but how the hell do they get after the quarterback so quickly? I mean, it is relentless. It is fast. It is impossible to stop.
It's certainly different than when the Broncos were in the Super Bowl against the Seahawks a few years ago. I mean, if you remember that Super Bowl, Denver didn't have a defense. It was kind of the old traditional Peyton Manning offense and then just hope. But you look at what the edge rushers and the outside linebackers from what Denver does, and I pay attention to say like what the Oakland Raiders do, just because it's West Coast and it's the AFC West, and you kind of get soaked up with it out here just because of the region. But you see a lot of Broncos action, and so that front seven is capable of getting to the quarterback under almost any circumstance. I mean, I can't say enough about what Von Miller's capable of doing. We actually have a piece on Night or Noise coming out about kind of a scheme piece and looking at a lot of film breakdown and trying to say, okay, well, if the 49ers can learn anything about what the Broncos did Thursday night, what are they going to have to do? And kind of trying to draw comparisons. But you look at the edge rushing and sort of the actual real simple technique used by Denver's pass rushers. It's I wouldn't say it's overly complex, because it isn't. It's just a matter of matchup v. matchup, and that's what they've been taking advantage of for this past 2 years.
Yeah, they just win.
Yeah.
All right, here, Joey, I don't understand this. I really don't get it. He's listed as 6'3". 6'3", 249 pounds. How can Von Miller at that size butt back like three dudes on blocks? Like, he's not only just beating dudes with speed, he's bull rushing rimmers over there.
Right.
I mean, he must be one of the strongest dudes in the NFL.
Right. He is very strong, I'm sure, for his size, but also, he's got a variety of moves, and you never know which one's coming. He can beat you around the corner a couple times using his speed, and then next thing you know, he's going to surprise you and come head on and knock you back. Even if he doesn't get to the quarterback, if he knocks you back and gets into Cam's way, that's an avenue of escape that he could possibly cut off for Cam, so that maybe Ware or one of the defensive linemen like Wolf can get to Cam. So
Ware was coming flying around that edge too.
He was, and really, I felt like Ower had a bad game. I felt like he didn't play well. Like he really did not play well. Like particularly to his side, they were doing a lot of damage. Did you notice that, Peter? Did you notice that as well?
Yeah, the scheme breakdown piece that I just did, I went back and I looked at a lot of the film. Michael Orr's getting beat around the left. DeMarcus Ware would it's almost like one of these still shots that I took. You see DeMarcus Ware just dip underneath the block. Just right. It's a quick dip, turn, jet left, and a straight route. Rights Cam Newton.
Yeah, he just beats him right around the outside, just like whoop.
And Ower really he looked slow. He looked very slow, and he looked weak to me. He really did. And honestly, opposite of Ower, I felt like Remmers did an improved job. I think it was a couple of things. I think he was better prepared for Von Miller, obviously, having played against him in the Super Bowl. And they adjusted Cam Newton's drop depth to where it wasn't quite as deep. Yeah, but that one,
some of those that Orr was getting beat on, he was already in the shotgun and then dropping back some more.
Right.
So that was putting him back there. I know that Remmers looked improved, but he was getting manhandled still. And not that he was just getting beat, but he would just be bull rush right back into Cam. They'd be standing on Cam before you knew it. Is that, he was in between them, the two of them, but they were making like a they looked like an Oreo.
Right, but they were on the phone booth.
Yeah, exactly. And so I have trouble. So like one play I saw them chip him twice. They chipped Von Miller twice. And then Remmers is waiting for him. So chip from like a tight end to a fullback, and then he just bowled over Remmers. Like, how can you chip block a guy twiise and then him still win an individual matchup?
That's how good he is. I think that's a real testament to how good Von Miller is. But the Panthers did a lot more of that, a lot of chipping, and I even saw them chip one time with Tolbert, and then they brought Turner all the way from guard to outside to help Remmers with Von Miller. But that's how much respect he commands, and honestly, it's a testament to how great of a player he is, no doubt.
Let me say another thing is that Greg Olsen is not a good blocker.
No.
Oh my God! I heard he was rated by PFF as among the bottom in blocking last year, but we'll forgive him because he's freaking awesome for us in so many ways. And I don't really like Pro Football Focus. I think that people have just come too quick to act like the stats that they put together are just
or the end all be all.
Yeah, I don't really understand. I just don't agree with it sometimes because, I don't know how Charles Sims was the best running back in the league last year, second best running back in the league, and he plays for Tampa Bay.
Did you see how they were rating the players as they were introducing them according to PFF?
Oh, really?
Yes, they had the player's name in his picture, and then their rank, for their position where they ranked last year
on NFL.
Yeah, in the introductions. Yes.
Holy cow!
Did you notice that, Peter?
No, I didn't notice that. I use PFF for. I I got to stay careful because I actually still use it for some things, but I use it for the things that I want to use it for, and I don't pay attention to it elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree. So what I saw is one time Greg Olson goes to block and he just fell to the ground. It just crumpled.
That's almost criminal.
It was so bad. Like, I don't know how Cam stayed alive in that, but let's talk a couple of good aspects before we turn around. What are the rays of hope, Joey? I was on Pirate Radio this past Friday, and Trip Morgan, who writes for C3, he said that this is the hardest game on our schedule. So that's the ray of optimism, or is that you get this and you were there at the end, like if that's what you're going to lose, the rest are just getting good from there.
Well, I'm sure Peter would like to think otherwise, but
right.
I guess just looking strictly on paper, that could be said. Another good thing, I thought Fozzie played well for the little bit of time that he was in there. I thought he made some decent plays. I like the idea of him coming in and getting a few catches and kind of later in the game where he's able to really. He looked so much faster than some of the other guys that had played the whole game, is what I noticed.
All right, so back to negatives then, because on Twitter, Lynn asked, did anyone else believe that Cam was taking too long in firing off the ball? I don't think so. I thought this is that I don't think so at all. And the reason I would say that is that if 1.1 seconds is too long to fire off the ball, then yes. But like what felt like an eternity, I don't remember any point where Cam wasn't under duress. Like not one single play where he just sat back there. And I thought though, honestly, the line did better than they had done in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought they did play better.
I thought, what about defense, Joey? Big chunk plays in the run game. That's not acceptable. Thomas Davis got jump stepped in the cut back in the hole.
Yeah.
And they ran like a trick play on us. It wasn't a trick play, but it was where they handed off to the fullback. And they looked like they were going to try to hand it off to C.J. Anderson. So C.J. Anderson went left guard, and then the fullback just ran right off the right. He went left tackle, and then the fullback ran off the right guard. And Ben Wickery just ran right by him because he thought, no way.
The fullback was going to get the ball.
Any concern? What are your concerns on the defense, Joey? Real quick, and then we'll go to the.
I think we really didn't run the ball. I think our run defense didn't play up to their potential. Really didn't like what I saw there. I felt like we were getting gashed too often, and we didn't really get a whole lot of pressure on Simeon. We got some, but it wasn't consistent. I didn't feel.
Really, I thought we were fine. I thought. Concerns for me, Charles Johnson struggled.
Yes.
And not struggled necessarily when he's playing. He wasn't on the field as much as I expected.
Right.
Or should I say that Ryan Dallaire was on the field for 36% of the snaps.
Yes, that was surprising.
Here's the thing. I just want to go ahead. Everybody's throwing Ryan Dallaire under the bus. But let me say this, is Ryan Dallaire is like Mario Addison. He shouldn't be in there on running downs. And he shouldn't be in, he's only a third down pass rusher. That's really, and for them to, the problem is you can't blame a guy for being something he's not. And you put him there on a running down, and he's like Von Miller. He's like 250 pounds. I saw him get like shook like a little baby boy on the line. My thing.
Right. Well, the thing I think with him was, I know in one particular play, he lost containment. He got sucked in, and they went around him. And that's just not being disciplined. You got to.
Or being little. getting drug all around and like, you know what I mean?
In this particular play, he didn't get blocked. They knew he would over pursue, so they used it against him.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's really what I noticed. Of course, we had some secondary issues. Tackling was bad in the defense too. Some really poor attempts at tackles, just total whiffs.
Yeah, Kirk Coleman missing tackles.
Really,
Trey Boston. The list goes on.
Was the worst.
All right, outside of Cam Newton, player of the game for me, and we're going to where we're going to move on is Kelvin Benjamin.
Yeah,
can't be stopped. Cannot be stopped. And the only way you can stop Cam Newton and Kelvin Benjamin is to sack Cam Newton.
Right.
It's the only way.
Or face mask Kelvin Benjamin.
Yeah, or face mask Kelvin Benjamin. Or try to break his back. Like every tackle he got. That poor guy's back. Oh, my Lord. That hurt me.
He took a shot that one time.
Just awesome. And what about, did you see Mike Tolbert get hit in the nuts?
No.
Oh, he just got sat down. I'm pretty sure he got a head right to the cojones. Poor fella. All right. Peter Panacy, we brought you on because the Panthers are hosting the 1-0 49ers with the best defense.
The NFC West leading. San Francisco 49ers.
Enjoy my last, guys.
The number one rated defense, San Francisco 49ers.
That's called pitching a shutout.
You write for NinerNoise.com and Bleacher Report. So tell us, how excited are you guys over there after last night?
I won't tell you as far as the rest of the fans are concerned, but I'll tell you my perspective on it. Going into the season, I didn't care so much about the record because, look, 49ers have the toughest schedule in the NFL this year. As I tied with the Falcons at I think .555. Wow. So, this year's not about wins and losses. It's about development. It's about getting stronger where you need to. Not worrying so much about the skill positions and, where your standings are. It's about getting strong at the foundations. But that said, last night's game, the 49ers clearly outplayed the Rams at the line of scrimmage. When you look at the offensive line, the defensive line for San Francisco both played exceptionally well. And even though the Rams are bad, their defensive line, their front seven, Rams defensive line is pretty darn good. You got Aaron Donald, who's a step below J.J. Watt. Robert Quinn trying to come back for after an injury-riddled year last year. And so Rams defense is no joke. And 49ers offensive line, which was such a weakness last year, kind of just handled him no problem. I mean, gave up 0 sacks, not too many pressures. And then, of course, on the flip side, a very young defensive line with 2 6'7" bookends and Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner. They played well. 49ers defense was swarming against, Todd Gurley didn't do a thing. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if you have him on your fantasy team, you're probably upset by now. But, and for the 49ers, that's where you need to get good. Line of scrimmage, both sides, offensive line, defensive line, build a foundation from the ground up.
I was really impressed. I know that you said you gave them credit with their defensive line, but watching that game, I would have never known that they had a good defensive line. Aaron Donald, frustrated to the point where he got kicked out of the game. Mm-hmm. I just read that. I just read that when I woke up. I watched the first half, and then it was pretty clear. I was like, "There's no way I'm gonna stay up through halftime just to watch them." Put up 2 more touchdowns. And go to sleep at that point. It was late over here. So, but I woke up and I saw that he had been ejected. And, one of the, maybe I make judgments by just obviously I do the small interactions I've seen by a player, but he's always seemed like such a soft-spoken dude, like a gentle giant. That was my thought about Aaron Donald. Now, maybe I'm completely wrong about it. But at the same time, to me, this sounds like frustration was setting in on those guys. It was a long night for them, but you made easy work of that defensive line. How did you guys do that?
I think this is what you're going to have to put together with a Chip Kelly offense in a situation where the 49ers are where they are. They don't have a lot of receiving weapons outside of Torrey Smith, although Jeremy Curley looked good. Who would have thought? But the 49ers last year ranked 30th in the league in run blocking according to Pro Football Focus. And so this year you saw some of the changes. And I know he didn't play last night. Joshua Garnett, though, one of the best interior run blockers in college football. Zane Beadles, who doesn't do well outside of a zone blocking scheme, brought in as a free agent. Andrew Tiller, another good run blocking guy. And then Trent Brown, whom Von Miller said was one of the toughest guys to try to work against. And I mean, Trent Brown was a 7th round pick 2 years ago, and now he's starting at right tackle for the 49ers and doing great. So again, that offensive line just being able to impose its will against a tough Rams front seven, allowing Carlos Hyde to get decent gains on the ground. I mean, he didn't post up 168 yards like he did a year ago this time, but still able to control that possession. So run the ball, control the offense that way, because you don't have a lot of other options, and just win the battle at the line of scrimmage. It comes down to that when you're a team that's struggling at the skill positions.
I think that's a perfect strategy for the 49ers. They have a running back that can tote the ball, 30 times in a game if he needs to. And they can control the clock. They can keep the other team's offense off of the field so that they can't score points. And they give the Niners defense a break so that when they do have to get on the field, they can go full bore for sustain that pressure better. So I think it was a perfect scheme for what the Niners needed. And I think Hyde, he didn't get 100 yards, but he carried the ball 23 times. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. What was it? 23 times for 88 yards.
You're not setting any records, but that's a nice steady pace. You know what I mean? And how many carries? I don't know if you know off the top of your head. How many carries did any other back get besides Gabbert? Because I know he had a few.
Sean Drawn had 7 carries, 18 yards. By the way, also from Tarboro, North Carolina, Joe, you had Todd Gurley on one side from Tarboro, North Carolina, and then Sean Drawn, who scored a touchdown, is from Tarboro as well. That's 20 minutes down the road from me, Pete.
Wow.
Yeah, they mentioned that during the game, actually. Yeah, they were talking about that in the game. They were saying Sean Drone and Todd Gurley from Tarboro, North Carolina.
I wonder if they knew one another. That's a hick town right there. So they probably did know one another.
How do you get to running backs in the NFL from a town that probably has like 2,000? Well, no, they probably got like 10,000 people there.
Maybe
in the same game. Here, I gotta jump in on this and let you guys. Mel is sad. Mel has been tweeting in the show, sending me messages saying he is sad he couldn't be here tonight. And somebody just hopped on YouTube and said, "Who's this guy?" And they were talking about Pete. and Shaked said, "That's Mel. He lost the bet. His Wolfpack lost to East Carolina. The loser had to shave his head." So Mel, I know you were running from us. You were running from this podcast tonight because your Wolfpack got beat by my Pirates.
Ooh, that's right.
All right. Okay, back to this 49ers thing.
Another 7 carries there, so that's 30. And then Gabbert had like 4 or 5 carries himself, right?
9.
So you're talking about
9.
Oh wow! So you're talking 40.
Yeah, 9 for 43. But most of not many of those were designed. I think a lot of those.
Of course not.
Just just a cavern.
Right.
It was. Oh my God! That middle of the field. Matt Ryan could have run for a first down under that.
Yeah. Yeah, so my point being that, look, you got 40 carries there, and that's perfect for an offense that, the quarterback is not a prolific passer. You get 40 carries, and then you have to throw the ball a few times, and look, you put up 28 points. Albeit it was against the Rams, so there were big question marks, but I think that is a formula for winning for San Francisco.
I want to ask about this when it comes to Blaine Gabbert. How do you really feel? 22 for 35. Blaine Gabbert is your guy. How is Blaine Gabbert? How is, everybody's upset with Colin Kaepernick for sitting down during the national anthem. I think you should be. I don't think it's strange because he continues to sit. He protests all game long as he sits down, watches Blaine Gabbert take the starting job. How does a guy like Colin Kaepernick let Blaine Gabbert take a starting job from him? And but really, what I'm asking is, what do you feel about Blaine Gabbert? He's terrible. Well, he's terrible, man.
I'll say this. And it's not going to get any better, and I don't know if we'll see how it gets any worse, but he's an okay quarterback in a system right now that he might fit a little bit better. Chip Kelly offenses aren't necessarily, everybody talks about being like the mobile quarterback, the Marcus Mariota from U of O, but it's also, you saw this last night where it kind of hurt the 49ers. It's predicated on accuracy and timing and releases and hitting the open man at the time where you're supposed to hit the open man. Gabbert struggled with that, but at the same time, if you watch Colin Kaepernick over the past few years, that's not necessarily his strength either.
Right.
So when you kind of think about, all right, what's in a way the lesser of two evils, right now it's Gabbert. Now, granted, I think most 49er fans would probably agree with me on this. Kaepernick has the much higher ceiling out of the two, but when you start to compare the two as far as what you're going to be able to expect game in, game out, especially when you go up against some defenses that are realizing what Kaepernick's been able to do ever more so in increasing years, Gabbert's probably the safer option, even if he's not the sexiest one out of the two. So that's why the 49ers went with him. And then also you factor in the fact that Kaepernick was hurt for the second half of last season and missed most of OTA's training camp, the first half of the preseason. So, you look at him, he's skinnier right now. He almost could benefit from, whatever you think about him, he almost could benefit from just sitting on the sidelines for half a season, learning Chip Kelly's offense, trying to figure out how to evolve as a passer and not just a run-first type guy.
I'm going to make a couple of points here. I remember Jaworski from ESPN said Kaepernick is going to be the best quarterback ever. Remember him saying that Kaepernick was going to be the best ever. And then I'm going to recall, Peter, I think the very first time we had you on the show, it was when we were having a who is better or who will be better, Cam Newton, Colin Kaepernick debate. Because Kaepernick had sort of come on, taken the Niners to the Super Bowl where they had lost to the Ravens, and everybody was hyping up Kaepernick. And, I don't know if you remember that, but you were very measured in your opinion and said, only time will tell. We don't know. And
yeah, and I remember this too because I remember it was I think right just before the year before when the 49ers hosted the Packers, and that's when Kaepernick ran wild and absolutely
yards.
Yeah, it was just a nuts of a game. And if you go on YouTube, and I've used this video in a few articles, you watch the Fox Sports crew talk about Kaepernick saying this is the new generation of the NFL quarterback. And the part that gets different between, say, like Cam Newton and a Russell Wilson and a Colin Kaepernick is guys like Cam Newton, Russell Wilson learn to adapt their game to also mesh with being a pocket passer too. capable of beating you with the big throw from within the pocket, yet capable of extending the play with their legs, yet not losing the touch, not losing the accuracy.
Right.
Cap didn't develop that, and that's kind of the one big setback that I think not only myself, I've seen that, but you look at, say, like Greg Cosell from NFL Films, he said that too, where it's just like he didn't develop in that aspect of the game where he could be that reliable pocket passer who had that dual threat of being able to take off or extend plays with his legs.
Did you guys give up on him too soon?
Well, out here's the part that's kind of tough. So the 49ers organization, if you kind of look at it deep within, there was a little bit of infighting. That's why Jim Harbaugh is no longer here. That's why Jim Tomsula was promoted. And a little bit of a rift between the front office, the fans. I mean, we had banners flying over Levi Stadium saying to fire the 49ers CEO. That happened last year, and you'd see the 49ers stadium half full, and you couldn't give away 49ers tickets. So the perception was that certain people within the 49ers front office were making Kaepernick the scapegoat and sort of, I guess, if you would, selling him out. Now, not to say that Kaepernick's not at fault. It's not like he's the best quarterback who ever came up and then was just abandoned by everybody. He's got his faults. But at the same time, the 49ers front office, certain people within, and I'll let whoever draw their conclusions as far as who is responsible, but kind of made him out to be the scapegoat. To say, hey, if the season goes wrong, it's all Cap's fault, and we need to move on from him. And there might be some of those things. I mean, if you look at what like Trent Dilfer said and what people are thinking about Trent Dilfer and 49ers general manager Trent Baalke's comments, maybe that's still ongoing right now. But nonetheless, it's a very interesting situation out here in Northern California.
I think I'm surprised. I would be upset if I felt like if the turn on him was so quick. I mean, there was obviously a shoulder problem, but the rest of the team has been stinking too. It's not like he was just below. I mean, I don't know. And I don't watch him close enough, but that was just kind of my perception from afar. All right. So optimism, though, to a certain degree, you guys have to be at least like, hey, you got more happiness last night than you had potentially all last season in one single game. Chip Kelly, did he surprise you with having his team that prepared?
No. I think rewind 1 year ago, and yet Jim Tomsula had never even been a coordinator at the offense or at the NFL level. And, Chip Kelly at least has done this. He's made it to the playoffs. Still has a winning record. You could say what you want about him his last year in Philadelphia, but you knew it was going to be an upgrade. Thoughts about him regardless. You knew it was going to be an upgrade over what you saw a year ago. So as far as preparedness, wasn't worried about that at all. I think that he was going to come in there and at least make the best out of what the 49ers roster had to provide him.
Okay, so Joey, what do you think about the 49ers coming to town? What do you got? I got gold. I got a gold boom. I feel like this. Look, I don't feel bad. I really felt good about looking at the Panthers game against Denver. I know that everybody was sad and they want to focus on all the negatives, but I saw superstars out there. I saw plays getting made. I saw us just miss a field goal with a bad snap. I feel like we should make quick work of a team like what I thought was the 49ers, but I mean, they may be better than I gave them credit for. Joey, what do you think with them coming to our house?
I think they have some talent. They do have some talent. I think they're really good defensively. They do have some question marks on the offensive side of the ball, yes. But like Peter was saying, their offensive lines improved, and they'll get a good test by going against our guys this week. We get to play at home, and usually we're tough at home. We're very tough at home. So it'll be a chance for us to get some redemption. I think Carolina wins, but I think it's at least a game for a little while. I think Niners keep it close for a little while.
I don't know if I think what the Panthers do is in many ways what the 49ers did to the Rams. And that is just relentless pursuit after the running back, stack the box, get up in Gabbert's face. Pete, do you think that the Panthers, if you were, is that the right strategy for the Panthers, is to make Blaine Gabbert try to beat our defense?
Yeah, it's not even so much Blaine Gabbert. It's almost make another wide receiver step up. I mean, you got Torrey Smith, who was, aside from a flag, basically a non-factor, but it's not necessarily Torrey Smith's fault. If your opposing defense lock down on Torrey Smith and make somebody else beat you. That's why Jeremy Curley had a pretty nice night. But
what do you think about him? I got some questions on YouTube saying that's the guy that we need to stop.
Yeah. So anyway, going up before Jeremy Curley was added, what was it, yesterday, 2 days ago?
Yeah.
The 49ers had Bruce Ellington out of South Carolina.
Yeah, that's our guy.
Yeah, you're just kind of waiting for him to get going, and he's had injury problems, inconsistency. But you always thought, all right, Chip Kelly's going to be the guy who uses this guy out of the slot. He's going to be that dynamic X factor that you see on the offense that you've just kind of been waiting for. I mean, he's only 5'9", but shifty, speedy, and then
it's like Jameson Crowder a little bit.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he's done for the season, and Curley's acquired. And so you saw him a little bit last night, and Curley he knows it way better than I ever would, but new to the playbook and still makes that impact. So a guy to watch out of the slot, but still insofar as what you want to do to shut down the 49ers offense, it's got to be the same thing. Try to take away Carlos Hyde, force Gabbert to find his weapons, but at the same time, and, it's not like Gabbert's an immobile guy who managed to pick up yards. He's capable of running the ball. So maybe putting a spy on him, making sure that his escapability out of the pocket's not going to be a factor to take into account.
Now, Joey, I'm not familiar enough with the Rams lineup off the top of my head, and I know that everybody says their defense is pretty tough, but one thing that I don't see Blaine Gabbert being able to do is run straight down the gut on us up the middle, because our linebackers, man, can fly. I just feel like that's going to be difficult. I feel like this is the type of the matchup the Panthers get back on track against. And I'm not trying to diss on a team that just shut out their opponent on Monday Night Football while we lost the game in our debut. I hope it. I know it sounds kind of overconfident, but I feel like this is what we do well. First of all, is the Rams were so one-dimensional last night.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing they could do. In fact, I heard people talking about the play calling for them as being a problem. I would love to say that it was poor play calling, but I feel like they can't do anything else but those three plays. They tried on the very first drive to come out passing, and then it didn't work out. And they're like, all right, well, now we got to get the ball to Todd Gurley, and everybody knew it was coming. Like, they only have two plays. It's like, go to Gurley, 3. It's hand it off to Gurley. It is screen pass to Gurley, and it is jet sweep or bubble screen to Tavon Austin.
Right.
Other than that, they can't do anything. Anybody could play well against that.
So I feel offensively, they really are.
Yeah, you can't do that. You're not gonna be able to do that against the Panthers offense. That's for sure. How are you guys gonna try to match up with Kelvin Benjamin, Pete?
I don't know if you have an answer. I'll take it. No, that's gonna be tough because you've got 49ers' best cornerback is Jimmy Ward, former first-round pick who struggled his rookie year, came on his second year, played pretty well, last night he was flying all over the field, but he's short. So I don't know. I mean, Dante Johnson is an option. He's 6'2", and hasn't seen a lot of the field, during the preseason, and obviously one game's not going to give you much, but you're kind of waiting for a guy like Dante Johnson to be a factor. And so I don't know if they go with the size matchup or they try to go with more of the scheme matchup and just say, hey, we're going to take Kelvin Benjamin out of the picture by simply creating pressure and trying to get Cam Newton and not allow him to get him the ball out in time. So I don't know what Jim O'Neill's defensive scheme's got to be there. It's not a matchup you like, which is kind of one of the reasons why I would have loved to have Kelvin Benjamin on the 49ers go. And he was, I was like, maybe he falls, but anyway.
Chip Kelly has gotten the better of the Panthers before. Joe, you remember, I think, did we open against them or we played a Thursday night against them, and that was and it was just awful. Yeah. And we had like Sproles ran one back to the house. Yeah. All right, so I'm not too intimidated by Chip Kelly, but maybe the media has thrown him under the bus too much, and maybe there is something still that he's got up his sleeve. It's already 11 o'clock, guys, so I think what we're going to need to do, we got two last things to do. We need to make our picks for this week's game, and just basically briefly surmise why we're making that forecast, and we're also going to have to do our ice up picks of the week where we call somebody out. All right, and Pete, I'm so glad you're here to hear my ice up pick of the week tonight, because it will be near and dear to your heart in some ways. All right, Joe, why don't you start us off? Who you got winning this game, and what's your score?
All right, I think the Panthers.
I'm going to try to look up the line while you say that too. All right.
I am going to pick Carolina. I think Carolina, obviously coming off a loss, really, really wants to get back on track and get a win. It's the home opener. They know they had an opportunity to win the game last week and came up short. So they're going to want to, I think, make this one sort of a no-doubter, if you will. So I think Carolina wins this one, let's say 27-7.
27-7. I like it. All right. Pete, who you got winning this game?
Well, here's a factor we didn't get to discuss, and this is something because I saw the mirror image of it last year, but 49ers have a short week. They play on Monday Night Football, travel all the way to the East Coast. And you guys don't get it, but I do. When I've traveled back east, that's always the tougher of the two directions. Short week, traveling east, facing off against a team that played on Thursday night and trying to do so
14, it's like 15 days almost, or like something like that.
And if you want to say this is what the 49ers had to do against the Pittsburgh Steelers a year ago, and that did not work out well for the 49ers. Same thing, Monday Night Football, traveling east against the team that played on Thursday night. So I mean, it's a tough, even if the 49ers were the league's elite, this would be a tough game to lose. So I think it's going to be a battle for probably the first 2.5 quarters. I think it'll be a one-score game. Carolina will probably start to take things over when you start getting in midway through the third. And I'd say it'd probably be like a 24-10 or 24-13 win for Carolina, but a dogfight probably for those first 2.5 quarters.
That's about what I figured.
All right, the line on this game is, Panthers are the highest is 13.5 favorites. 13. 14 favorites. 14-point favorites is the highest.
Wow.
Between 13 and 14 points. 2-score game. That is, we were favored by 3 against Denver. I'm going to go this. I'm going to say the Panthers go and win this game 30-13. I think you got a team that's angry right now. Now, this very well could be a close game, and who knows, but I feel like the defense is going to cause problems for Blaine Gabbert. I feel like we're going to get a defensive score, and I think Cam Newton is that. I don't think that they will be able to generate the pressure anywhere close to what Denver was able to do. And if Cam, you saw this, is if Cam Newton had any time, he can be deadly. The only thing is that you got to be able to catch that missile he throws at you. But other than that, I mean, the guy seems to be making better decisions each and every week. So that's my prediction is the Panthers get back in the game 1-1. It's a gold bust for the 49ers and a gold rush for the Panthers. I really hope we get it back together. All right, last segment of the show, guys. This is where we pick an ice-up pick of the week. And this is where we tell somebody, anyone in the world, in the NFL, to get it together to ice up. It's our homage to Steve Smith. So, Joey, I'm going to ask you, do you want to open it up?
I do. I'll make it nice and easy.
Okay.
My ice-up pick this week, it was tough. I wanted to go Graham, That's really where I wanted to go. However, I didn't want to assassinate our own player, so I decided against it. But I am going Dallas Cowboys, Terrence Williams.
Oh, gosh, I hate this dude. Ruining fantasy football teams
for everybody. He's a 4-year veteran, so he's been in the league a while. This isn't his first 2-minute drive, out of timeouts. Everybody that plays knows they have to be situationally aware. And he wasn't. Caught the ball. Could have made a beeline straight for the sideline. Instead, for whatever reason, tries to make a few yards and gets tackled.
Or inches.
And gets tackled in the field play. Now, don't get me wrong, it would have been like a 57-yard field goal attempt, but his kicker had made 2 50-plus yarders already and had made 4 for the day, so he was in the groove. And their kicker is the best kicker in the NFL, in my humble opinion. So, anyway, or at least one of them. So, this week my ice-up pick goes to Terrence Williams for costing the Cowboys an opportunity and, in all likelihood, the game. And we know, as good as Dak Prescott played, and he was fantastic. With all he really was, and all the issues they have had, in the past year or 2 years, this would have been a good chance for them to get started on the right foot. So I think the loss is even bigger.
And to not have Odell just blow you up.
Exactly.
I mean, like they played as great as well as you could think they could play in that moment.
Right, and they had a chance to do it in the end, but because of someone's...
He sucks, man.
I suck.
He sucks.
I suck.
God, he sucks. He's been, I've been waiting for that dude in fantasy football for like 6 years. And I just want to say, I go back. I second your ice-up pick because you cut an ECU, or you didn't re-sign an ECU Pirate, Dwayne Harris, who then now is a New York Giant. But, he's not really a receiver all that much for them. But I feel like he could have done it. He could do a better job. Mm-hmm. Dwayne Harris, man, when he played receiver in the preseason, be blowing up like 200 yards. And for some reason, they'd always be like, well, he's just not good enough. We got to put Terrence Williams in. We're going to put this Beasley dude or whatever. All right, Pete, you got a nice up pick for us this week?
I absolutely do, and it's going to be ESPN for the coverage on Monday Night Football. I just tweeted out to you guys You guys have a secret weapon coming that nobody knows about. His name is Blaine Babbert. Go look it up. You'll see what I mean. It's the new quarterback for the 49ers.
You think that was not a mistake? That was not a mistake.
That is not a mistake. You can go look at the tweet, and you'll see the ESPN screenshot of Blaine Babbert. And he's the new offensive weapon in genius. So congratulations, ESPN. I don't like to rip on networks or anything too much like that, but the coverage last night outside of Steve Young was pretty rough. And
whoa, okay, all right.
Blaine Babbert.
All right, so.
All right, first of all, Blaine Babbert, that's the guy. That's the good version of Blaine Gabbert. So
yeah, go look at that. Yeah, go look it up. Go look at that tweet, or you'll see the still shot of ESPN's coverage saying Blaine Babbert.
All right, Joe. First, everybody on YouTube and Twitter is saying you got to ice up the refs from the game for not throwing the flags for Cam Newton, right? I almost am changing my ice up pick a last second to Pete, who suggested that Steve Young was the best part of the broadcast last night, because my ice up pick of the week goes to Mr. Steve Young himself. And let me just go ahead and say, Steve Young is a jerk. He's taken too many hits to the head, and he has been a Cam Newton hater. And a dude that has been a Cam Newton hater for a minute. And it's just like one of those times, it's like, okay, not to be in love like Cam, like I am with Cam. But those people that just seem to go out of their way, Terry Bradshaw, they just it's like, all right, I was hating on Cam, so now I got to stick to my guns and dig in deeper. That's how Steve Young is. He's talked junk about Cam Newton forever. And then I'm watching the game last night. It's late. I'm laying in bed, and my wife just must have been like, "Why is this dude keep giggling? Why am I giggling?" Is that she had to have been asking this. And then it was because Steve Young at one point in the game goes, yeah, and Blaine Gabbert is one of the most athletic players in the NFL. And you're like, wait a second. Whoa, wait. He must have made a mistake because he didn't know what to say about Blaine Gabbert. That's what it seemed like at first. I was like, he didn't really mean that. He just didn't have anything to say about the kid. So he goes, he's an athlete. But nope. Here it comes. He doubles down, triples down, quadruples down, and then continues to emphasize the athleticism of Blaine Gabbert, describing him at one point as a top 5 athlete at the position. That this guy, he called it. I mean, it just went. I felt like this is when the giggling happened, Joe. I thought it was a drinking game. I thought he was pulling the old Super Troopers meow. Right now. I thought every time he's just like, Blaine Gabbert's an athlete. I was like, holy cow. Wait, Steve Young, either you took too many hits to the head at some point, or you're using the term athlete like my kids at school use the term essay. Very loosely. And by the way, so this goes to you, Steve Young, and your hurt feelings. Cam Newton just passed you. He passed you. He beat every record you had except for the Super Bowl ones. But to you, sir, let Blaine Gabbert go more than one game and 3 scrambles for 9 scrambles for 41 yards before you put him in the ranks of the best athletes, some of the best athletes in the NFL. So to you, Steve Young, you're terrible ice up.
That is too funny.
God, I couldn't take it. Like at some point I was just like, is he really just keep saying, I mean, it was all right. You made him, he just kept going on and on and on. But that's it. All right. This is the C3 podcast. Pete, thanks so much for joining us. Boy,
Absolutely, guys.
Peter, tell them where they can find your work. Everybody's already tweeting you on Twitter right now.
Well, all they need to do is head over to NinerNoise.com, part of the Fansided Network, and give me a follow on Twitter. Hey, like I said, you guys don't understand. Ron Rivera is from California, grew up in Northern California down near Monterey, not far where I'm from. So he's a California guy. So we love him out here, and a Cal grad. So take a look, and looking forward to Sunday.
Man, thanks so much for having the show. You're great as usual. Joe Riolano, a.k.a. the freaking Puerto Rican. Thanks for being on the show with us tonight. How can they follow you?
You guys can follow me on Twitter at Joe Riolano. Tony, as usual, it was pure pleasure. Tuesday nights are the best night of the week because we get to spend it together.
All right, my name is Tony Dunn. This is C3 Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. We'll check you out next Tuesday night where we chop it up, the Carolina Panthers from the fan perspective.